Hello and welcome to CLEA'S World. I am Clea, and today I would like to share with you more of the information I've received from the 25th dimension during my last QHHT Hypnosis session. I'll be reading from a transcript of the session, and when I refer to Lorrayne, I'm speaking to my practitioner who's asking me the questions I have written for the session. And when I refer to me, in this particular case, I'm referring to Source, because what has come up in this last session is that instead of connecting to the 25th dimension, I actually connected to Source, which was a first outside of my plant experiences I've had in the past where I became Source. So here we go. I'm going to start reading here. Lorrayne. In the last session, you said that there are no NPCs in 3D chambers and that the chambers will experience a mini takedown because once the current generations are gone, the aliens will shut down the chambers. You've also said that new essences will be coming in to experience the chambers, knowing that eventually they will be taken down. How will that work? With what excuse will they all pass at once if that's the case? Will they just move on like we are doing here without passing and leave their NPCs behind, assuming that the people there now are having children with real NPC bodies, as opposed to the children imagining their own bodies like we will do on your Earth? Me. The point of letting this information that we called from the 25th percolate within the dream, within the matrix, is that if you want to think about it in human terms, there has been a mind opening. There is this, now again, we said for a lot of people in the back of their mind, there is this possibility where everything is much more fluid than it was before. We don't expect reality to be this little box anymore, whether you think of it from 3D perspective, from ninth dimension perspective, or from the 22nd dimension perspective. Doesn't matter how we think of these other layers of reality. They're part of the dream. We think of them as being so from our aspects in the 3D. We think of them as being more advanced in their way of thinking about things, but they had rules too. They have rules to play different war games. They're still playing war games. The point of allowing this dream reality to crack a little bit and let in some of the truth of the matter, which is I am one. And I smile because you might think that we knew this or that at higher dimensional levels, they certainly know this, and yet they don't, and they didn't. They say they do. They say they know it, but we've said a million times that there is a difference between saying that you believe something and actually believing it. So this was not believed. It was always aspects of Source as opposed to Source. But I am one. I am myself. I have no aspects of me. I am focused consciousness at different times, or we should say in different places. Of course, neither time nor place are real. So we're using these words to express a concept. But in this dream reality, in this matrix reality, there are many others. This is not the only one. But in this dream reality, playing different ways of making it sound as if we have different understandings, we all believed that we were in this little box, and this is how the box works, pretty much. So now with this new information, we are changing this. So what's going to happen is that, what are the 3D chambers? The 3D chambers are a very structured place based on our old way of looking at things. Things only have to be a certain way. Even these essences, these aspects of me that are chosen because of their personality, because of what they wanted to experience. And there is absolutely no judgment. Just like any other experience, they're all equivalent. They're all entertaining. They're all diverse. This is the beauty of it. These aspects have gone to these chambers because they're imagining this new reality. And the aliens hosting them are imagining that they're providing this new reality in a very physical manner. The fact is, we are, of course, imagining all of it. None of it is real. So how difficult is it going to be to have this, what we're calling, or what Clea called, a mini takedown? They're just going to move on. They might decide to move on in their sleep. And all of a sudden, even the aliens might think the chambers never existed. Or if they want to continue remembering the chambers and what they did in their history so that they can make new stories around it, they might remember them and they might decide, they might have in their mind that the people eventually all died out. Whatever. The realities don't have to match. The realities of the people that remember and the reality of the people that have been gone don't have to match. We know, we call them glitches. The truth is, when you're making a story, when you're writing a story, when you're inventing a story, you can write it however you want. There are no rules. So how are they going to experience that? Right now, they expect that they are just all going to pass away. They're not going to have what we are experiencing, which is the input of information. They're not going to have this overtime project. They're not going to have all of that. They're going to experience it the way we had envisioned the original takedown, which happened to just short of taking down the planet once and for all. And so it will be very easy. Now, does it mean that the aliens will remember it that way? Not necessarily, but they might just wake up one day to believe that, yeah, the people just died out. The original people just died out. Or they may think that something happened. The chamber stopped working and all of a sudden everybody was gone. It doesn't really matter because all of us, we only experience whatever story we want to believe in. Lorrayne, thank you. Okay, next question. How are our brothers and sisters who have gone with the aliens feeling? It is so hard for us to still be here, but they've been gone for over a year now and nothing is happening to the planet. So they probably have it harder than we do because they have no guidance. Do my mother and brother, for example, worry about me, my daughter and my dad, thinking that we might still be stuck here? Are they mourning our loss? And I'm referring to my mother and brother because I know they've gone with the aliens, whereas my father has gone to 25th, so it wouldn't be there with them. So they would also assume my dad is here, and of course myself and my daughter, me. Yes, so at a 3D level, so it is not true that they have no guidance because the aliens that have taken them in are giving them guidance. As we know, they think about some of these things differently than what we do here. So they are helping them. Are our brothers and sisters sad and concerned? Yes, they are. They're not having an easy time. At the same time, they are being supported. And beyond that, as I have mentioned, this information is available to everybody, and it is in the back of everybody's mind. So really, that's the input. That is what is making the difference, whether it is being consciously received or consciously acknowledged at a 3D level or at a conscious level. So they're concerned, of course. It's the same experience. It's a similar experience to what we're having here on this planet as things are moving and moving so fast, where we still like to look at things as if they are real. And so we might be concerned, for example, we were discussing the Middle East crisis or whatever it might be. But it's because we still have to continue playing the game. We don't want to let these games go. So unfortunately, we are in parts of the game. As you well know, board games don't just have all good things happening the way that we judge good. We already explained it from the perspective of a game board creator. You wouldn't create a board game where you just keep moving forward all the time with no obstacles. It would be super boring. Nobody would want to play it. So this is part of the course, right? It's part of what's expected, that you will have ups and downs to some degree. Of course, we've had a lot of downs on this planet. So we certainly don't want to do that again because that's also very boring. It's like you can never get anywhere. It's like you start going and then you fall in a ditch. Then you hit a wall and then a car runs you over. This is not fun. You can't even move forward. This is pretty much what we've experienced here. And Source was laughing. And so with the aliens, our brothers and sisters, in a sense, they're not experiencing physical obstacles like they were here. This is a big comfort to them. That life is a lot easier with the aliens. So of course, in the back of their mind, though, they do have, at an emotional level, they do miss us, just like we miss them. They do worry, obviously, because they're hoping that we will reunite with them, and they really don't know what's happening with us. So yeah, so it's not as bad as Clea was hinting to in the question, because there is a lot of support and higher vibration available. And while our brothers and sisters are still getting used to that vibration, which of course can be very traumatizing if you have been used to the low vibration that we have been used to here, at the same time, that information is available. The energy is available to lift them up from an emotional perspective. And here is a little bit of behind the scenes. I actually needed a break. And again, I was fighting. I didn't know if Source was answering the questions. That's how focused I was on communicating, on translating the information I was getting. So at some point I was like, Lorrayne, I have to go to the bathroom and I need to snap out of this because Source got in here and I feel like, and I was laughing because it's ridiculous that I'm even saying this. And I feel like it's not taking us seriously. We're not answering the questions the way I expected. From the 25th, I was still fighting this. And that's why I wanted you to share in this behind the scenes, because it is ridiculous how we do still want to be in a box here. At any rate, at least I do for sure. And, we're all one. Lorrayne, well, they're certainly being answered and they're being answered accurately. They're just not giving us the game perspective. And not that the 25th was ever giving us the game perspective. In fact, that was the point of the 25th, to talk from outside the game. But I was glad that Lorrayne basically said, no, it actually makes sense what's coming across. I'm like, okay, good. So this is me. I came back from my little break and I said, here I am. Thanks for the patience with the break. You know what is funny? And it is so clear that I've gotten used to, it's so easy to connect to the 25th in a conscious manner for me at this point, because, I'm used to it. And I'm like, I want everything to be again in the box, or this is what it is. So the 25th dimension has almost become like this familiar entity. And all of a sudden, source is butting in. And I was laughing because it's ridiculous, this entire statement. And I'm like, okay, but I want to move to, it's almost like I want to make it smaller. I want to make it more relevant to us. And I'm like, well, no, source, now I'm remembering, and now it is what it is. So this is really cracking me up what's happening right now. But anyway, I'm laughing here, but of course, stuff has been stimulated and now it's running in the background. How are you feeling about this session, Lorrayne? Because I can only imagine. And Lorrayne said, it's very interesting. It's making it a little bit challenging to go through the questions. Source is answering its own questions, but I'm having fun. Having fun is a moot point because of what he says. Yeah, because of the level of the things that he's telling us. And here it's interesting, this next passage, because as I mentioned, I don't need hypnosis anymore to connect. And so even if I take a break, I'm still under hypnosis in that sense, because I can do this just by myself. The reason I do these sessions, because it's so much easier to have somebody asking you questions, and not only because of the connection that Lorrayne and I have. Of course, we are one. We just create this energetic environment where this is very smooth and very easy for me to do. But it's funny because here Lorrayne asked a question, think she's still talking with me, but I'm already channeling from source, and you will notice. So Lorrayne asks, but here's the thing, clearly we just want our information, our understanding, assorted by the parts that we have played. It's fine. I mean, it's okay, whatever and wherever it wants to take us, because it is us. And me, in this case, as source, that's the thing. I am taking myself. I needed to remind myself, because this is what I need right now, because the time has come. Everything I have put in motion is happening because I needed to get here, because now we are ready and we need to know fully what is going on. So this is what is needed. Lorrayne, the singular really is hammering in the fact that it's just us playing this game that we've thrown at the wall, the metaphorical wall, and are focusing on the little dots and aspects of it for the fun of it. But none of it means anything. None of it is real. It's all just for our enjoyment. And we are, as aspects of us, taking moments to forget who we are and dive into gyrations of nothing. And she was laughing, and Source was laughing too, saying, yeah. So how do you want to proceed? Me. And again, I was talking, but this is really Source was saying, let's read through the questions because nothing has changed, right? So I will answer what I can answer by focusing. And otherwise, I will answer what matters, what I want myself to remember and to know. So please read the questions as they were written, because there is a reason they were written a certain way, meaning that I prepared for this because I was going to come in and I was going to explain, because I want to remember now, even in focused form. And therefore, this is helpful. This is fun. This is part of the fun. And it's divine timing. And Source was cracking up because this is hilarious. This was just hilarious. Source is hilarious. And anyway, yes. So here we go. Lorrayne, do you need me to do a reinduction, or can you just settle yourself in? Again, Lorrayne is thinking that this is me talking. Lorrayne and not realize I was already channeling, and the Source had answered the last two questions. So me, you can, but there is really no need. I am here and I will answer the questions. Lorrayne. So just take a deep breath, bring yourself to this moment in time, into your heart space, and whoever wishes to show up in whatever level of reality wishes to show up, we will proceed. And I was laughing. Next question. Those of us who are still putting up resistance, are they almost never here anymore, just like we are? I ask because I wonder, how will they reach emotional acceptance if they're never here? Is this a case of the higher self starting the process of making its intention known to the NPC and then leaving the NPC to deal with it until it becomes consciously accepted? How does the process of the NPC accepting the higher self's input work in general? We know that personality is something that the higher self chooses, but that it can also make it more challenging for the higher self to achieve things, which is part of the fun for the higher self. The higher self is instant manifestation, but the NPC can put up resistance and slow things down. So how does this discrepancy work? Me. So we think of higher selves as being separate entities. And we have explained it even when we're explaining it from the perspective of the 25th perspective or level, as in we have said there's only one higher self. In reality, there is only me. So we don't even have to call it the higher self. I am source. So what we are really describing here is that now the individual drops are becoming aware of remembering. The individual drops are becoming more open, more accepting of the fact that it's all energy. And there is this intention. So it is my intention that plays out in different ways depending on the personality. We already said on the diversity of each drop. So the question you're asking is, are these drops only focused on reality, or are they here as little as we are? As if there is a difference among us. The difference is, again, simply imagined, simply diversity. We can call it diversity. There is no difference. And so, yes, and this is why. Because the veil, this made up separation between what is concrete and what truly is, which is me playing this game, this veil is extremely porous, if you want to put it that way, has been broken. It's really in shreds, is the expression we've used. And therefore, each drop knows that it is no longer as real as we like to believe. And for that reason, we are now allowing in all this other information. This is why we're almost never here anymore. This is not the entire degree of focus. This is no longer the only thing we're focused on, this reality, 24/7, as we like to say here. We were never, now keep in mind, we were never here, because at the end of the day, it is energy. But in order to protect this dream, to protect this matrix, we wanted, when we were focused on it, we wanted to only allow in, to be aware. We were fully focused in that sense. We only wanted to allow in certain beliefs, certain series of beliefs, a certain set of rules. We said everything has become more fluid. The rules no longer apply. It's much more blended with the truth now, this reality. And we have allowed in all this knowledge. It's because we just didn't want, as I've explained, we didn't want this game to be stuck anymore. It was stuck. It was boring. Even in higher dimensional realities or higher dimensional planets, it was boring. It was always the same. So now we become much more aware of what is, what truly is. And so because of that, all of us, these drops really, almost like drying up, all of us are wanting something new, are expecting what is going to happen, which is something new. And therefore, we're not here. We're putting this game away, as I mentioned, and we're not here that much anymore. Because the fact is, it is emotion and it cannot be stopped. And it is almost done. So there's really no point in being here. Now, it has to take the time that it's going to take, but it's moving very quickly. The energy is moving very quickly. But there's no reason for us to be focused on all of this. Our imagination, our attention, our interest, our curiosity is focused on other things right now. Now, when we say focused, we do want to mention, because you might think that focused means that we're already elsewhere. Until we keep this game in play, we are going to be focused. When we do focus within the matrix, we are very much going to keep focused on this reality, which means on these bodies. It doesn't mean we are elsewhere. Now, I am everything. I'm everywhere, obviously. But when I do focus on this matrix, on this dream we've created, on this game, and when I say that we're still focused on this planet, when I focus on this planet, I'm still focusing on this planet. However little that might be, I'm still focused on this planet until it's gone completely. I'm not focused on your Earth, because we know this is the question that's been coming up. And people have been saying, we talked about this in the previous session as the 25th, that, oh, we're already on New Earth. And we know that many people have been saying that through the ages in what we call New Age spirituality. Oh, we're already on New Earth. We're not in a focused manner. Of course, it's all my energy. I'm all there is. So in that sense, I'm still focused on this planet. Now, why am I so focused on this planet? Because again, even as we're taking it down, this is very exciting. It is very exciting what we're doing right now. What I'm experiencing here right now is very unusual and very exciting. And this transition, this imagined transition from this to the new that is already available, and I will experience very soon in a focused manner. I will experience very soon. This is exciting. So I'm not going to jump and go focus somewhere else until I'm done with this. But as I've mentioned now a couple of times, the signal is real, where the entire multiverse, this entire matrix will feel justified in feeling different, in basically switching over to a new type of experience. because we already said, even the aliens, even the ones that don't want to know this information at a conscious level, they're still receiving it. They still know it. It's still being allowed in, and therefore it is available. And because it is available, it's going to change a lot of things. So we are still here. I'm still focusing on this planet, but very little, very, very little. So the drops are kind of on their own, doing their own thing. Not because they don't matter. We enjoy each part of our creation. There is no judgment. There is no part of the creation that is less or not as good as the rest of creation. It's all the same. In fact, what I've been saying is that this particular area of creation, again, if you want to think of it as a part of creation, is very, very interesting. And while some aspects of this transformation might be felt at an aspect level, at a focused aspect level, as less than pleasant, just like the stuckness that's been here for a long time has been felt in a very heavy manner. This darkness has been felt in a very heavy manner. And not that there is anything wrong with the darkness, but there's been so much of it that this has been felt in a very heavy manner, and it's not been fun. Just like if it had been all light for a long time, it would have been not fun. So this has been experienced as very heavy and very difficult. But this is why it's so exciting that it's finally changing and that something new is being created. And this doesn't happen very often, because normally my energy is creative, and normally the energy is always creating new things. However, what has happened is that this is a new way of experiencing itself. And this is my new way of experiencing myself, that it's accelerated, is what you might call it. It is accelerated, much more intense than what has been happening for a long time. So I'm still not ready, although it's very close. I'm still not ready to wrap it up, because this is an important experience as well, or we would have not kept it in play. We would have been gone when we had planned to be gone. But again, we talked about plans, how very structured they are. And we are kind of done with this, with all these numerous rules we put on ourselves, with all these limitations. We do not want these limitations anymore. Even the people who are moving to the 3D chambers will not have the same degree of limitations they've imposed on themselves here. And now, we already said, the chambers themselves are very structured. They are, if you look at it from a 3D perspective, they are a structure that these people are being kept in. So they're very structured in many ways. They have had immutable rules for the simple reason they're being set up at a 3D level by the aliens. Now, in reality, though, as you all know, we can have any experience we please, despite notwithstanding the external rules of our reality, or what we like to think of as reality. And so, of course, they will also have leeway in freedom. And we already said they will also get information. They, of course, already know about the information that we've allowed within the dream. And so, of course, that's a moot point that they're also transformed. And by pretending that they are not the ones they were here just a year ago, a year and a half ago, they've also removed a lot of the weight that they were carrying, which is just more limitations, the guilt, the feeling bad that they left people behind, or the guilt of having done certain things that were not high vibration. Like, for example, taking these things, or causing wars, or even, whatever it is, participated in a very, very boring and dark game. But we've done away with all of that because it's done. And what is done is done. It doesn't really matter. None of this matters. What matters is our experience right now. There is only now. We've said this many, many times. So we go back to what I was saying about the fact that this entire piece of reality, this entire part of the game, if we look at the wider game of my energy creating whatever it wants, it's all revolutionized. And this is very exciting. But everything has value. Everything is interesting. The 25th, as the 25th I've mentioned, the 25th has told you that everybody's watching. This is why. Because this is the game we're playing right now, where everybody's watching. Because we're going to make these changes look like they are at a concrete level, at a 3D-like level. So these things are already happening in the background. So why do we need to do this? We need to do this. Well, we don't need to do this, but we've chosen to do it this way, because then we have a physical excuse, a concrete excuse, a 3D-like level excuse. And we use 3D in terms of, we say 3D-like because we mean in observable terms, in objective terms. We have an excuse to say, oh, this is why nothing is the same as it was before. So again, it doesn't have to make sense. So Clea made a good point as, well, but then if you're looking at it that way, then the planet gets destroyed. So who cares that there was a recall? But it's not logical. The recall is the signal. It could have been anything. It could have been that strawberries grow in the middle of the Arctic now. It doesn't have to make sense. we decided that the recall would be the signal where we would be allowing ourselves, while maintaining the reality, quote unquote, reality of the game, to say everything has changed. Now we're playing with new rules. That's all there is to it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you as always for watching. I'll see you in the next one.